Well, I completely messed it up. We got a new video and I completely screwed it up. So you're welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Ask an OpenShift Expert live stream. I'm Jonny Rickard. I'm joined by Brian and Martin from CloudCasa. Brian, you guys want to say hi real quick before we jump into the top of mine?
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Brian Sietsma. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the talk.
Hey everyone, my name is Martin Fahn. Happy to be here as well, and hope you enjoy the talk.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So as a lot of you guys that are watching know, like we're rebranding to Ask an OpenShift Expert. I just got the intro video redone. I uploaded it, and then I've obviously forgot what I named it, and I've clicked on the wrong one. So that's why it was all messed up. So next time I'll have it all nailed down and it'll be amazing. So yeah, sorry about that. So today's topic, we're going to talk about CloudCasa. Brian, you and I met at Summit, and we were kind of talking and kind of talking about like what you guys do. And well, I was like, man, it'd be awesome if you guys came on the stream and came and talked about it. So I'm glad that we actually were able to make this work. And yeah, it's gonna be hopefully it's gonna be a good topic. I think it's gonna be a good topic. So for the top of mind, I just wanted to go. We only have a couple things, but the first is we're not going to be streaming next week. So the week of the 2nd, July 4th for those in the US. So that holiday week usually is a pretty heavy PTO week. But on the 9th, we're going to have the UX team for OpenShift Virtualization. So if you remember, I don't know, it feels like 100 years ago now. We had Peter come on and he was talking about the OpenShift virtualization user experience within the OpenShift console. So his team is going to come back on and they're going to talk about some of the changes and updates that they've been making in the interface. You've seen Sully going through the demos and stuff like that, and you can see like there's just been a lot of work put into it, and it's pretty amazing. So we're glad to have those guys on. That's going to be a good topic. And then on the 16th, we're going to have Infinidat come on. They're another Red Hat partner. We've been working with them, coordinating with them over the last like month or so to come on, and they're going to do some demos and talk about their product. In the last stream that we did, we were talking about having a landing page for some of the OpenShift virtualization things because there's so many different short links that are out there. There's so much information out there for OpenShift virtualization. It's really hard to kind of like find that one source that has everything, especially if you're a non-Red Hatter. So what I wanted to do is share the link to this. And thank you, Carol and May and Courtney for providing this. To post the link really quick here. So if you jump to this link will it's a great landing page for all things OpenShift virtualization, and it's a great resource for those of you that are not Red Hat internal, that you don't have access to all the Red Hat internal documentation or all the internal sites and stuff like that. So just a good source to have. Also, if you missed the what's new, we did the what's new for OpenShift 4.19 last week. Lots of great things coming out with that. Sully and I will do a recap session on that of all the things that are coming out. So as 4.19 is starting to drop and go GA, we will do a session with all the new features and hopefully have some of the networking team come on because it seems to be a big that seemed to be like a big theme in the what's new. And then finally, I saw a post this morning about multi-cluster management. Like one of the technical marketing managers within Red Hat is trying to get feedback on GitOps, multi-cluster management, control, all things multi-cluster management. And Red Hat wants your feedback. So if you're doing this, if you're doing multi-cluster work and you want to have some input into how to make things better, maybe something that you do within ACM, you're like, man, this would be a great feature. Or maybe you're like, this thing totally sucks and I hate it. This is the feedback. This is the place where we want to hear this stuff, right? And I'm gonna paste the link here. And it's a LinkedIn post. So yeah, reach out to them and give your feedback. Be part of the community, be part of the SIG, be part of like the collaboration to make the product better and to make this workflow better for multi-cluster management. And that's it. Sully's on leave. He's on PTO. He's out. He's got to take a break. He's been defending the world for the last year. It feels like he's been, in meeting after meeting every week. So hopefully he's got some nice time off and he's able to relax. So with that, Brian, Martin, I'll kick it over to you. And yeah, let you guys run the show.
Perfect. Thanks, Jonny. I appreciate it. Yeah, just a quick introduction. My name is Brian Sietsma. As I said earlier, I'm an account executive here at CloudCasa by Catalogic. I'm going to start just running through a quick overview of what we do here at CloudCasa, how we work alongside Red Hat and OpenShift customers. And so I'll start with a few quick slides. I'll pass it over to Martin, who is our field CTO and my engineer, to do a quick demo of the product as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. A brief overview of who we are. Catalogic Software is a data protection company. We've been selling various data protection solutions since the 90s. Back then, obviously, focused on physical environments, VMware environments, Hyper-V. But over the last, say, 5 to 8 years, we have really been looking for what's that next emerging market. And it was very clear that that next stage was Kubernetes and containerization. And to go along with the positives of containers, right? The flexibility, the code portability, the scalability of those environments. There are a lot of shortcomings when it comes to data protection, security, disaster recovery, and really managing multi-cluster, maybe multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments. And so we put together this product called CloudCasa, offered both as a SaaS solution and a self-hosted solution to really be a data protection, disaster recovery, and migration solution for really any flavor of Kubernetes. Today, obviously, focusing on OpenShift and OpenShift virtualization. When it comes to looking at data protection for containers and OpenShift in particular, there are a lot of challenges, right? It's not a like-to-like scenario to something like VMware, where there's a lot of options out there. There's a handful of legacy solutions out there that claim to have support for Kubernetes. A lot of those have really a lack of comprehensive protection. They claim to have the ability to back up containers and restore containers back to their original location. But what happens when there's a need for snapshot immutability? What happens when there's hybrid environments where part of it might be on-prem OpenShift? Maybe you want to move that data to AWS or Azure in ROSA or ARO. What happens if there's VMs in those containers? How do you protect those virtual machines, right? And some of those, again, those legacy solutions out there don't have the ability to be a true comprehensive solution for all of the complexity that comes with Kubernetes. And one of those things is disaster recovery gaps as well, right? In this world where we need to very quickly respond to a disaster, how do we restore not only a cluster back to its original location, but a cluster to the cloud or VMs to a alternate location? How do we go ahead and very quickly respond to a disaster to get your business back up and running very quickly? One of those other hurdles is migration, right? As Kubernetes environments evolve, they're less and less like siloed applications and more like hybrid environments, right? There might be for a prod and a test environment, and being able to migrate those workloads back and forth. Maybe there's a call from the higher ups to move things out to the cloud. So how do you migrate that platform from an on-premise OpenShift environment to something like ARO or ROSA? And then finally, complexity with setup and maintenance. Again, a lot of these solutions are very heavy. They require maybe hardware. They might require heavy or complexity when it comes to networking, maybe bi-directional communication between each of the clusters and each of the agents. There might be a heavy workload when it comes to memory consumption. Our solution is much more lightweight. We require half the memory of on those CloudCasa agents compared to some of the other solutions out there. We're also single communication, right? Single directional. So all we need to have is our agents communicating back to the CloudCasa server. And so again, that simplifies the whole workload. The last thing we want to do is add complexity to an environment where all you're looking to do is protect the data. And so we offer a very simple solution to get onboarded very quickly. Like I said, we offer both SaaS and self-hosted. Our SaaS solution, you can be up and running in about 15 minutes. You can simply log into cloudcasa.io, create an account. It will automatically create a free account for you where you can register your clusters. You can begin to build out backup and restore jobs. And again, within 15 minutes, you can have this protecting your clusters. You can connect to cloud accounts that you might have. And the self-hosted version is just as easy. You simply install CloudCasa within your tenant on premise, and then again, register your clusters and begin to build out backup and restore jobs. And then finally, probably most importantly, when it comes to these data protection challenges, cost is probably the biggest issue, right? If you're looking to move to something like OpenShift virtualization, say from VMware, for example, you're looking to save money. And so when it comes to being able to protect those VMs running in OpenShift or OpenShift containers or Kubernetes clusters in general, the other options out there are often prohibitively expensive. All the savings you just made moving to OpenShift virtualization, that goes out the window because now you're spending 10x on backup, right? We are the most cost-effective solution out there for Kubernetes backup, for OpenShift virtualization. We're about a third of the cost of the other solutions on the market. So when it comes to worker node pricing, we'll touch on licensing later on, but we're about $39 or $59 per worker node compared to something like $180 to $190 per worker node per month. And so we're able to not only provide a simple solution to get onboarded, something that fully understands the complexity of Kubernetes in the environment, but also at a cost that is much more affordable than the alternatives on the market. So to just do a high-level overview of what CloudCasa is, again, we are a backup as a service or self-hosted solution. We don't require any hardware or infrastructure to maintain. What's great about this is, like I said earlier, in only a matter of a few minutes, you can create a SaaS account. You can have these backup and restore jobs running. We're able to protect that data or back up that data to any object storage. That might be S3 compatible destination in the cloud. It could be on-premise if it's a MinIO server, for example. We back up the data to S3, and then we have the ability to then restore at a granular level the entire cluster, a specific namespace or persistent volume, a single VM, something as granular as a single file from a persistent volume claim. Hopefully, in the near future, we'll be able to restore files from those VMs as well. That's something we are looking to get out by the end of the year, where you'll be able to actually take a snapshot of a virtual machine, crack open that snapshot, and restore single files from that virtual machine in OpenShift virtualization. We also offer application mobility. One of the big differentiators is because we are Kubernetes agnostic, we don't lock you into a specific vendor, but we also allow you to have the ability to migrate clusters and Kubernetes workloads from, say, like I said, on-premise OpenShift to a cloud-hosted version of OpenShift in ARO or ROSA, right? Or if you're looking to move to OpenShift or OpenShift virtualization, if you're looking to move clusters from a different Kubernetes distribution, we have the ability to restore those clusters into OpenShift or those virtual machines from a different containerized virtual machine platform. Like I said, we do offer file level restore from persistent volumes. So if you're looking for granularity when it comes to a restore, we can restore, like I said, a entire cluster, specific namespaces, resources from those persistent volumes, and again, something as small as a single file. And again, the most cost-effective Kubernetes data protection solution out there. Can't stress that enough, but we are simple. We offer simple and competitive licensing. We'll look at the licensing model later on.
So Brad, real quick, I know
Yeah.
you're saying you can do a full cluster restore. Like, are you really talking about more from like the application side, right? Like, you've got like your apps, you rebuild the cluster and redo it, or are you talking about like an etcd restore and all that stuff as well?
You can do both, right? Martin, if you want to elaborate on that, you can add some context.
Yeah,
as well.
actually, so we can do what's called full stack restore, where we can create a cluster on the fly, or we can do a cross cluster restore, where if you already have a standby cluster already built up with it, that's a working etcd database, we can restore your application to that standby cluster. The full stack recovery is available for cloud applications mainly. So if you're restoring to AWS, Google, or Microsoft Azure.
Okay.
Yep, and we'll touch on some of the other migration use cases in a second here as well. But before diving into that, I just wanted to highlight our partnership with Red Hat, right? So how does CloudCasa fit alongside OpenShift? We had some great conversations. Like Jonny said, we met out at Summit this year. Great conversations with the Red Hat team. How do we enable the channel partners to be able to sell more OpenShift and a more OpenShift virtualization? How do we make it easier for you guys as OpenShift admins to have a enterprise ready and a cost-effective, simple solution to back up the data? How do we make it easier for you guys to move more persistent data to OpenShift? How do we make it easier to move from VMware to OpenShift virtualization and still protect those virtual machines in the way that you used to, right, with VMware? And so what we offer with CloudCasa for OpenShift is simply complete protection. We support any flavor of OpenShift, whether that's on-premise, OCPV, OpenShift in AWS or in Azure with ROSA and ARO. Again, any flavor of OpenShift is supported. And because, again, we are built in Kubernetes, we are able to understand that complexity, be able to not only protect you from the cluster level, but again, crack that open, protect and restore at the granular level. This isn't just for containers. This is for containerized VMs as well. So I've touched on it several times. If you're looking to move to OpenShift virtualization, if you're looking to expand on that environment by moving production data there, and now there's a need to back up that data. Not only do we protect containers and protect VMs, we can protect them all in a single pane of glass. So for a growing environment, it's very simple to manage that environment, to build out backup and restore jobs for your containers, as well as for your VMs. Other solutions claim to protect those VMs, but really what they're doing is backing up the namespace and everything on the namespace. What we're able to do is browse, again, like you would with a solution for VMware. What are the VMs you are looking to back up and restore? Click single VMs, select multiple VMs, regardless of what namespace those belong to, and being able to back up and restore those VMs to an alternate location as well. And like I said earlier, we'll be expanding on that functionality. We're working with Red Hat to be able to add to the data protection use cases for VMs. Like we said, we want to be able to restore individual files from those virtual machines by the end of the year. And then as Jonny mentioned, being able to go ahead and do migrations, right? These are environments that aren't solo applications anymore. They're growing environments where there might be a need to back up a cluster running on premise and restore it to the cloud, or maybe it's from prod to a sandbox for test dev purposes. What we're able to do, like Martin said, whether it's a cross-cluster restore where we take, again, cluster data running in your source and restore it to a cluster that's already predefined in the destination, or it's full stack recovery where we can restore and actually spin up a brand new cluster for you on the fly in the cloud. So again, if it's ARO or ROSA, we can connect to that cloud account and build a restore job where the cluster, you don't have to have a standby cluster sitting there wasting resources waiting for a restore, right? You can have a cluster created on the fly that goes through all of the namespace mapping, the permissions, all of the network configuration, all done for you during the restore job. And again, that makes restore recovery from a disaster much easier.
So,
and then lowest TCO. Yep. Is there a question?
I just have a quick question. Yeah. So from a management perspective, right? Like it sounds like to do like the full cluster restore or like, hey, I want to go create a new cluster and migrate and stuff like that. Obviously that sounds like cluster admin, but like what if I just want to do like backups, right? Or maybe I want to delegate that role down to like my a backup team, for lack of a better term. Is there RBAC built in, or do I actually need to define it? Or like, do you have like different roles that you already create that will do like the backup role and backup and restore? So that way you're not giving them like carte blanche access to your whole cluster into your cloud environment.
Yeah. So what you're able to do is when you create an account, it builds out an organization for you. And so from that organization, different roles can be applied. We do have full RBAC capability. So like you said, if there's a need to pass responsibility down to a backup team to just make sure that we are protecting and storing those snapshots for those clusters in case of a disaster, right? We can we work on the edge as well. We work with MSPs. So again, if there's a need to allow access to certain users where they shouldn't have permissions to do or view some things, we can create those roles for those users, define the permissions required. And again, like I said, with MSPs, that's a great example, right? Where under the service provider organization, the clients can have access to their own workloads and not access to other customers, right? And so that's all. And Martin can touch on that during the demonstration as well. But we do offer full RBAC.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Brian, too. So we offer our product in 2 separate flavors: a self-hosted flavor where you can deploy CloudCasa, the server piece in your own environment, or a SaaS piece. So we actually, our service on the web and tenancy and RBAC is actually built in natively to the product. So
Okay, awesome. It sounded like it, but I just want to make sure. So
yeah, good question. And then again, what's that final piece here with OpenShift? How do we be able to offer this solution at a price point that makes sense? That's not going to hold up your jobs as OpenShift admins to be able to move persistent data to these containers. How do we make backup available at a cost that's about 1/3 the price of other alternatives on the market? All right, and then just wanted to touch on the migration again. As we said, what we're able to do is take snapshots of the Kubernetes workloads, the OpenShift workloads on the source cluster, and restore in various ways to a destination cluster. We also have built-in application hooks for pre and post snapshot, right? So if there's Postgres databases, MySQL databases, applications running on those clusters that you want to maybe move to a test environment to for QA or test dev, right? We can run and attach those application hooks to those backup and restore jobs to maybe quiesce the database before the snapshot, unfreeze the database after it's restored, which again allows for just the portability of containers. What they're built for is being able to migrate these workloads from a source to a destination, again, whether that's on-premise or in the cloud, whether it's our cross-cluster recovery or full stack recovery, whether it's a full cluster or a single file from a persistent volume. We're very, very flexible when it comes to our migration and replication capability. All right, and then just one last snapshot of our offering here before passing it over to Martin for a demo. We do offer a free service as well for SaaS up to 10 worker nodes. That might be changing in the near future, but at this point, we do offer 10 free worker nodes. So if you want to go ahead and create an account at cloudcasa.io using our SaaS offering, you can protect up to 10 worker nodes for free today. We do have, again, our CloudCasa Pro and CloudCasa Enterprise offerings for SaaS and self-hosted. The CloudCasa Pro offering is $39 per worker node per month, while our self-hosted enterprise solution is $59 per worker node per month. These are based off of an annual commitment, minimum of 12 months, but we price point at a per month basis. So it's pretty simple, straightforward.
okay,
Yeah.
2 questions, one for me and one from our audience. I'll go for Dwayne first, that way I'm not taking up the whole time. So Dwayne asks, so can you back up in a federated environment? So think like FedRAMP, right? GovClouds, what's the other one? MAG, right? Azure Gov. To do maybe with sophisticated RBAC, do you see sovereign AI coming into backups?
I'll answer the first part of that question first. We do have customers running this in an air-gapped environment. We are working on the beginning stages of FedRAMP process for SaaS, but the self-hosted version being hosted entirely within your air-gapped network, backing up to your object storage. There's no data being moved off-site or anything. So we do have customers, like I said, running in that air-gapped environment. We do also back up to GovCloud through private networks. So it is something that's supported with the self-hosted version. Martin, do you want to answer the sovereign AI come into backup question, if you have anything on that.
So I don't actually have anything on that. I think we're all experimenting here with AI for the most part, and we can see that it is very capable of doing many things. I think there's a lot of areas that we're looking into from a disaster recovery migration perspective, where we can have some automation and some intelligence built in for handling those type of workflows, failover, failback type scenarios. But I think that's pretty, I guess, further into the future than what we can promise at this point. But I think everyone's looking at AI at this point, and we're looking at ways in which we can enhance our product capabilities with it.
And it's probably very safe to say that yes, it's eventually going to be something, right? Like there's
it's
going to be
gonna be
something.
there. Yeah.
And just my question was about your licensing really quick on the self-hosted piece, right? I see it's 59. Is there not like a free worker node or 10 free worker node self-hosted?
No, so to give a little bit more clarity, so CloudCasa Pro, the service itself is $199 a month. That service is includes 10 worker nodes. So outside of those first 10, any additional worker nodes is $39. With Enterprise, with self-hosted, just straight up $59 a worker node. So 10 worker nodes, $590 a month. And that's it. There's no additional service fee or any discount on the first 10 nodes. It's just simply straightforward $59 per worker node for self.
Awesome. And Nerlep, I'm sorry, it's asked, does CloudCasa support dedupe and compression?
It does, yes. So this would be on the backend storage side, and you're able to bring your own storage actually. So we're backing up to object storage, either in our cloud or on your cloud, where we're able to take advantage of different features like object locking, snapshot locking for immutability, as well as deduplication and compression. The backup itself is actually an incremental forever strategy. So we're taking a snapshot of your persistent volumes and resource data, and then every subsequent backup after that fact is going to be an incremental backup, only backup the change blocks of data.
So really the hard requirement is having a cluster and then having some S3 capable storage that you can back up to, right?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. And Giodi, I saw your question about using Tanium. I don't think so, but I'm going to find out for sure. Like, I honestly haven't even heard of Tanium until you just mentioned it. So I'll reach out and try and find out. But if you want to email me, Jonny@redhat.com, JONNY @redhat.com, I'll see what I can find out for you. Sorry, Brian. You can jump back up.
Yeah, no, great. Good questions. So yeah, I'll just a quick summary, right? We've touched on this a handful of times, but where do we kind of align with Red Hat with the better together strategy? We do offer the lowest TCO for OpenShift virtualization and OpenShift. If you're looking to save money on your existing backup environment or backup solution, I'm sure we can come in at a lower price point since we are 1/3 the cost of the alternatives on the market. We fully support any flavor of Red Hat OpenShift, whether that's ARO, ROSA, OCD, OSD, OCPV, OVE, and any flavor. Like I said, we are agnostic when it comes to Kubernetes, so we can support any flavor, any distribution of Kubernetes. Comprehensive application protection. Like I said, we have the application hooks built into the product. We can protect those databases with those application hooks, get those application consistent snapshots. Granular recovery and application mobility, being able to not only protect or claim to protect a cluster and restore a cluster, we can protect and restore those resources at a very granular level, giving you the ability to very quickly restore what you need to restore after a disaster, bring it back to its original location or an alternate location, and a very simple to use UI. Martin will go through a demo here. Very intuitive, very simple. A single pane of glass, like I said, for both containers and containerized VMs. And any other flavor of Kubernetes you might have out there, we can protect it all in a single, very easy to use CloudCasa API. So Martin, I'll pass it back to you. If there are any questions before going into the demo, we can answer those.
Yep, we have a couple questions. One is, do you guys have a lot of serverless customers?
We actually have a mix of both, right? So I think the majority of our customers right now are using our SaaS-based platform where they don't need any infrastructure. They just have, their Kubernetes clusters that are out there that might be managed by some other cloud provider like EKS or GKE, right? So these are, would be considered our service customers. A lot of the federal customers that we do have, though, they're preferring to go down the pathway of, having their own Casa server installed and implemented. We have, this application is designed for Kubernetes in Kubernetes. So it's a Kubernetes app that you can deploy through a Helm chart, and those would be our server-based customers. But I would say that there's I guess, more of a distribution towards our serverless customers. Those are using our SaaS service.
Okay. And then Nerlep asked a follow-up question to on dedupe, and it's if backend storage S3 bucket doesn't support dedupe like FlashBlade, can CloudCasa still do dedupe?
So we are relying on the backend storage to do our dedupe. FlashBlade is more considered like the appears a network attached storage. So they're doing NFS mounts. So right now we can only back up to object storage. You would have to front that FlashBlade up with a software object storage like a MinIO server or something similar. But we are looking at taking advantage of other backup destination types like NFS, like block storage. So that will likely come when we support those storage offerings.
Okay, awesome. And then another question.
NFS, real quick on that one. NFS support will be out within a month or so. So right now we support object storage as a destination, but NFS will be out very soon. So you can simply back up to a local NFS share as well.
Now, like, is that any NFS or is this like enterprise, like NetApp NFS, like EMC type NFS, or are we talking about like I just set up an NFS server and I can back up to that?
All the above.
Really?
All the above,
man, you guys. Yeah, we support NFS and OpenShift, but it's like, all right, really, please God, only use like enterprise grade hardware. Like trying to do like an NFS server, it's such a pain. And then okay, so Nerlep asked another question about the licensing. It was regarding the SaaS 10 free worker node license. Does it apply to one cluster with 10 worker nodes, or can you have two clusters with say 5 worker nodes each?
Yeah, any number of 10. So it can be distributed in any way. It's not.
That's awesome.
10 worker nodes on one cluster. Yeah, any 10 worker nodes. And it's essentially worker node hours, right? So if you have a question like, hey, worker node, I never know the amount of worker nodes I have. It's a very scalable environment. We simply calculate the average across a period of time. It's worker node hours that we're actually calculating.
Okay.
And so it's anything and what's scanned in, right? If you have clusters that don't need to be protected, don't register them in CloudCasa, and you won't be counted as part of your number, right? So if you're looking to protect the resource, register the cluster, whatever worker nodes are attached to that cluster, that's the count that we keep track of.
I'm just running through like a scenario in my mind right now, right? Where it's like, if you're trying to do like a cool POC or something like that, where you're doing this, like you have the developer subscription with Red Hat where you get 16 free nodes, right? And you can do all kinds, it's pretty much unlimited on what you can do. I'm not gonna say unlimited, but there's so much that you can do with it. Like it's a pretty powerful subscription that you get out of the box for just signing up. And then you sign up for this 10 free worker node thing with CloudCasa. You can do a pretty decent little POC with that, right? And actually show some value with a pretty low turnaround. It seems like we'll see the demo, right? But it sounds like low overhead from a maintenance and setup perspective. But you just need some S3 stores. Setting up MinIO is not that difficult, right? So I don't know. This seems like a pretty cool little demo. It seems like it could be fun.
Well, we like to say that you can configure a demo or POC within 15 to 20 minutes or so. So as long as you have the cluster, you sign up for a SaaS account, we're going to be able to show you the value within an hour of first deploying or signing up for your account.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, here, I see you're sharing your screen, and I'm a terrible host.
No worries.
All right, here we go, Mark.
Thanks, Jonny. So, hi everyone, my name is Martin Fahn. So I'm a field CTO here at CloudCasa and do a lot of demos on Brian's technical arm. Hopefully you've seen some of my other videos on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't, you can check that out as well if you're looking for something more specific, how to do something. But I hopefully have a demo here that will pique your interest from a Red Hat perspective here. Let me just give you a run through of my demo environment. What I have here are 2 Red Hat OpenShift clusters. I have, one running locally, and then another one that was just deployed in AWS. So this is a Red Hat OpenShift cluster that is running on AWS. And what I want to do is I want to, back up applications from my local cluster and migrate them over to my AWS OpenShift cluster. And to do that, what I can do is just go to the CloudCasa website, cloudcasa.io. Here's where you can sign up for your free account here, register the worker nodes that you want to, or the clusters that you want to manage and back up, and log in. So once I logged in, this is the dashboard for my cluster. This is where all the magic happens, from where I can go about configuring my enterprise, adding storage, configuring users, policies, adding clusters. So the very first thing that you need to do is when you sign into your CloudCasa dashboard, and this could be, you can also self-host CloudCasa as well, deploy the CloudCasa server within your own environment. Here I'm running it on my SaaS account, so I'm logged in as my user ID Martin in a demo called CalLogic Demo. And I can switch between organizations here. Let's say I'm part of multiple organizations within my environment. I can switch between my dev, my finance environments here as well, based off of what I was invited to. And now I want to add my clusters, right? So I have these two clusters here. If I want to add my clusters, you can see that I have two clusters added. One is the local cluster, one is the Red Hat OpenShift AWS cluster, but I can just, if I want to add a new cluster, I can just click on this AWS or create cluster button. Here we can manage an existing Valero instance as well. If you have Valero or you're running Valero as your backup strategy today, and you've grown beyond, having to manage that single Valero instance, we can act as a multi-cluster manager for Valero. You just need to slide over that button. We deployed separate agent, etc. But if for now, I'll just create a cluster called test, and provide it with some date here. And what will happen is we're going to have multiple ways in which we can install this cluster. So either through a manual method of kubectl, Helm, or other methods in which we can integrate into marketplaces, and you can deploy
Oh,
those
very
agents
nice.
through the marketplace, right? So you can also assign permissions here as well. So if I want to, create some permissions within a cluster, we can do namespace as a service as an example, right? For example, my user Bob, right? I've scanned in this cluster. I want this user to have backup or restore permissions to this default namespace, right? I can add that as a permission entry. So it's very customized, very granular level of controlling who has access to what within this RBAC-based deployment.
Can I bother you really quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, shoot.
And I said that, and I completely forgot what my question was. Can you go back real quick? There was
Yeah,
something.
Go ahead. Here we go.
Oh,
Permissions.
that's what it was. That's what it was. Are you guys working with the Red Hat team to get into the OpenShift marketplace, or like the Red Hat marketplace for any of the, so that way you can go through like the OpenShift marketplace. I can't remember the actual name. I'm a terrible salesperson, but if you're, you can go through, and then can you order CloudCasa through like the Red Hat interface, or is it all through, you just pull in CloudCasa and then it's to the CloudCasa markets?
So I think you might be referring to Operator Hub. So we're not on Operator Hub at this point. We just offer our deployment through Helm charts and kubectl apply statements. But I think in the future we might want to explore that path as well, because we know how, no offense, lazy OpenShift people can.
Yeah.
But just being able to point and click it and go into a store and purchase your application.
Yeah,
from
Operator Hub is like that. I get that. That's like the operators and stuff like that. But like there's like an OpenShift marketplace where I think you can go through, like it's basically for SaaS offerings, right? Like with our partners. It's more of a partner question, I guess. I'll take it offline with you. It's
Okay,
probably more.
Gotcha. Yep. So that is our cluster permissions here. So I have my two clusters. I want to back up some objects here. Let's say on my local cluster I have some virtual machines that are running that I want to back up. And when we install our agent, it's just simply a kubectl apply statement that you would run to deploy the agent. And what we have here is on that local cluster I have so if I do a kubectl get, So this is what our agent actually looks like. It's two services running within a pod.
I can only see your browser. So if you're
okay, 1 second here. Did I not share the entire window? Let me try that share again. Oh, here we go. Entire screen. There we go. Sorry about that technical difficulty there.
yeah, that's all good. All
I was
good.
just trying to bring up a command prompt window here with our two services, and what I want to do is, let's say I want to reinstall the CloudCasa agent. What we do is we create a separate namespace called CloudCasa-IO here. If I jump back to my web browser and just go into the clusters overview section here, where I have that new cluster defined, I can redeploy the agent or reinstall the agent. This is the kubectl apply statement that you get when you are installing the agent for the first time. So if you have a console window open to your cluster, just run that kubectl apply-f with the unique manifest. This deploys the agent pod and the namespace to your environment. So if you do so here's the agent pod should be coming online after the reinstallation there. But that's how you go about editing and installing your pods. Once you have it installed, let's define a backup, right? So under clusters backup, here you can go define a backup. And here I want to define a backup of my local OpenShift cluster. What I want to back up, I want to back up applications based off of their namespace. Let's say I have some application listed here called to do, right? So I can select that application, or I can choose to select the entire or full cluster. If I want to get even more granular, let's say I want to just back up, certain PVCs or VMs underneath it. We have a resource browser where you can browse down and select the individual VM that you want to back up. In this case, I want to back up this VM called Sears Demo VM. I can choose to back up, choose that for my backup. But more importantly, I can choose, how I want to back it up, where I want to back it up to, right? Do I want to snapshot and include the persistent volumes? Do I want to back that up to storage volume of my choosing, or just take a snapshot? That's what I can define for the source of my backup. Brian had mentioned, we also have support for application hooks as well. So if I need to perform any operation before my backup took place, let's say I need to quest some databases. I want to back up that to-do application that contains a MySQL database, so I can choose a pre-application backup hook that can quest that database, and then a post-application backup hook that can thaw the database so that it once the snapshot's taken, so that it resumes normal operation. I can choose that as my backup job, and then just define a policy for it, right? How often I want to back it up, daily, weekly, monthly, right? So this is just boilerplate scheduling stuff, and give my backup job a name. So call it test 625, and then just simply create it and run that restore or backup for my backup job. And what I have here is I have some backups that I've already performed just before our call today. If I jump to my dashboard, I can show you these backup jobs that are running. So this is my to-do backup. It ran just before a call, took a snapshot of the persistent volume claim, and it copied that persistent volume claim over to the object storage of my choosing. These are all the operations that were performed during the backup when it ran. So that's a backup of a container or a namespace. And then if I look at another backup that I performed on a schedule, this is a backup of a VM. So let's say if you're running VMs on your OpenShift or on OpenShift virtualization, we can detect the VMs that were backed up from that backup policy. So this is a great way from which you can back up VMs, backup containers, and then migrate them over to other locations if you so choose. So that's how we define our backup. Once we have everything backed up, let's say now you want to restore, right? So it's pretty simple from a restore perspective. Just go into clusters restore. You're going to define a new restore job. In this case, I have some restores already defined. I have a VM restore defined, so I'll just kick that off and run it. And I have my to-do application restore defined, so I'll just kick that off and run it, and we'll come back to that once they're completed. But if I want to, let's say, restore at a file level, right, I would just need to drill down into the cluster that I want to restore from. Let's say I have this demo cluster and a snapshot of that cluster that I want to restore an individual file from. I can choose to restore or mount up that snapshot back to a destination cluster, and then just pull out a single file from that persistent volume claim. Let's say this MySQL persistent volume claim here. I'll click on browse files here, and it looks like I don't have enough memory to browse that here. Let me just try a different cluster. Okay, it might just be I need to increase the memory requirements on that cluster, but you can see that we can go through that process here to select the files.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll come back to that one. The restores I did just kick off though were restores of a VM and a container, and with that, let's say you had that to-do application, right, on your local cluster. So this OCP cluster in which we had backed up that to-do app. You can individually select the namespace here to restore that application, and then choose how you want it restored. Do we want to create a new cluster using that full stack recovery on the fly, or do we want to use an existing cluster to restore as our destination? In this case, I want to restore to my Red Hat OpenShift cluster running on AWS. So I'll use that existing cluster, and I can transform the restore to my specification, right? So if I want to rename the namespace or rename the project with a -restored suffix, I can do that. I can remap the storage classes. Let's say in my original restore, I had this Ceph RBD storage class, and now with Amazon, I have Amazon related storage classes. I can choose and select that. I can enable restore modifiers, just basically change and upload the entire YAML configuration of that restore, and then add restore hooks, give it your restore job a name, and away you go. So that's kind of the restore from a container perspective. And then from a VM perspective, if I want to, let's say, move the VM here, I can just, again, drill down into my source cluster, and I'll find a snapshot that backed up those VMs. So this is the snapshot that backed up a VM, and I'll just choose the resources I want to restore. In this case, I want to use the recovery point browser to browse for VM objects here. So from a virtual machine perspective, I can just simply choose that VM and then choose the destination where I want to restore it to. That's the Red Hat OpenShift AWS cluster, while transforming the namespaces and storage classes here as well. So these are two restores that I kicked off. I gave the names. Let's jump back to the dashboard to see how those restores had went. And you can see that those restores are complete at this point. So you can see the to-do app restore completed. Let's just check out, what we see in our destination cluster here under workloads. Well, let's check out namespaces first. So we see our to-do application here restored. We see under networking the services that make up that to-do application. Search for to-do. And here's my application now listening off of an Amazon front-end load balancer here. And under networking, let's say I backed up that virtual machine from my local. Now it's running in the cloud. I'm going to go into virtual machines here, and here's my project that's been restored with that Cirrus demos, VM that is now ready and available for me to go in the cloud here. So that's how we can use CloudCasa to not only back up, but also migrate VMs, containers, applications from one Kubernetes application or infrastructure to another. And this can be done from OpenShift on-prem to OpenShift in the cloud or vice versa, and while restoring both those container objects and VM objects.
Awesome. So when you're doing the restore or you're even taking a backup, right? And you're saying, hey, I want, or actually it's the restore, and you're saying, hey, I want to create a new cluster, right? Are there any complications with OpenShift? Like, how do you say go to Rosa, or how do you say spin up a new on-prem cluster or something like that? Or is that when it comes to OpenShift, it's like, all right, you need to bring your own cluster and then point it to it?
Yeah, so ROSA is a service, right, that's running in the cloud. We're not going to create a ROSA cluster. We'll create an EKS cluster, right? So that's it'll be like an EKS Kubernetes cluster. If you want to actually live in ROSA, then you would just need to deploy, a ROSA cluster and have that act as a standby cluster up front, and that would be more in line with the cross cluster restore.
Okay, I was like, how does that even happen? Okay, but that makes sense. So you'd spin up the environment on the OpenShift side and then point to it and then say, hey, go restore to that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And then I had another question was about like the are you guys writing a plugin for the console for this for CloudCasa? So like if you look over in your share screen right now, you have like the virtualization drop down and all that. There's that's a console plugin, right? So are you guys planning on doing something like that for CloudCasa so that way maybe I don't need to go, maybe I don't want to open up another CloudCasa or another URL to go to CloudCasa. Maybe I can just do that through this interface right here. Is that something y'all are looking at?
So we don't have one currently. We've actually done that in the past, built in extensions to our CloudCasa provider, but we don't have one yet for OpenShift.
Okay. And then finally, I see we're doing everything through the GUI here, right? I'm assuming all these dump down to YAML objects, and I can use GitOps and some type of like automation controller to do this instead of maybe I'm not a clicky engineer. Like I get lost in the UI, so I'm definitely very much going to create like a Helm chart, or I'm going to create some application, and I'm gonna script it out, right? It's going to be automated. So I'm assuming that we can dump all this down.
Yes, we can. So we actually have a Terraform provider for automating our installation and provisioning of CloudCasa clusters, schedules, storage destinations. So you can pretty much do that all from command line. We also have a pretty robust REST API as well. So the entire framework of CloudCasa is built on top of a REST framework, and you can plug into that as well to capture and perform operations as needed.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so if you're running this on-prem, I guess technically, like, if you're running this on-prem, right, you would just need the one, like, how does it bubble back, right? So I guess if I have like say 10 clusters, right? And I'm not even talking about the SaaS offering at this point. I'm talking about like maybe I have 10 clusters. We talked about dev stage prod, all that stuff, right? I guess I have CloudCasa controller set up in one, and it all bubbles back to that, right? Is that really all the agents would bubble the backups back to the controller?
Exactly. Yeah. There's a CloudCasa server piece and there's a CloudCasa agent. So in this case, we're just counting the worker nodes here actually too. So if you look at my OCP cluster and my AWS cluster here, you can see that we're not counting the actual control plane or master nodes. Only those nodes that have work or can be scheduled work on. Those are the nodes that we're counting here in this case.
Okay. So then next question is like, what if something goes wrong, right? Like I'm trying to take a backup, something breaks, doesn't do what I expect it to do. Like what's the approach to troubleshoot that? Like how do I debug this?
Online help. So we actually have within the help guide, if something does go wrong, there are usually buttons within the screen here, GUI, that you can just click, I had a problem, and that forwards the issue statement along with all the logs that we would need to troubleshoot it.
Okay.
Yeah, our standard licensing comes with business hour support. So local time, 9 to 5. We do have enterprise support options as well for those that need 24/7, 365. But like Martin said, we right from the GUI, you can reach out for help. We also have built-in ways to protect the CloudCasa server as well. So you're not going to be like backing up the the cluster that you're running this on, but you can protect, say, the CloudCasa database as a built-in kind of disaster plan for the solution itself.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And then Nerlit asks, do you leverage Copia or Canister underneath for backups?
So we do for Copia. We use Copia for our data movement, and then Canister, I think, for database. So that we're using our own pre-application hooks, I guess framework. So these are just single command line scripts that we can execute within the container. I don't think it's Canister though. We're running underneath it.
And I saw that where you have like the pre and post hooks, right? Like, where do you define those? Like, is that something that like you create a manifest and you deploy it that way, or is it something you go through the UI? Is it Shell? Is it Ansible? Is it anything Terraform?
Yeah, it could be. It's usually Shell, but you can add your own application hook. It's just a command that we can inject into the container within the pod. So after you select and we have like several application hook templates that just single one-line shell statements that will freeze a database or thaw a database, and you can use any shell command that your container would understand.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Dude, I see a ton of value here. Like this is pretty awesome. Like, and again, it goes back to like a lot of us. We're not all big enterprises, right? We don't all have like these huge budgets that we can go out and do all kinds of crazy stuff with, and we don't have. I was gonna say something. I've been on the road too long. I was about to say something crazy. We don't have like the kind of money that we just throw away, right? And so, how do I even do this? How do I leverage something like this and just be able to show the value initially without having to make this huge investment up front, right? And I think like a combination of like your 10 node subscription or your 10 node license, and then like the Red Hat developer subscription, and or even like some free tier EKS or whatever, right? Like you can spin something up, you can show the value, you can do like a quick restore. This is pretty awesome. But what are some of your big roadmap things that you guys are going to do, if you can talk about them?
I would say NFS is one.
Yeah, so
right? So that's one.
Yeah. Yeah, NFS is one. Single file restore from VMs is another. That's coming soon. We are beginning to have conversations with different hardware providers as well to leverage their replication capability. So to get more of a continuous replication, being able to reach out to somebody like an HPE or a Pure, where we can leverage their replication for more of a true disaster recovery solution. Right now, like we said, we have the kind of scheduled backup restore replication capability. But that's something we're working on to partner with those storage providers to be able to have a true continuous replication solution using storage replication is something that we're working on as well. Trying to think of other big things that we're looking to do on the roadmap. Martin, anything else?
No, I think you covered it all. I think we're seeing a lot of traction though, specifically with the VMware folks and people like moving away from infrastructure-based, virtualization or hypervisor-based virtualization to more of this containerized virtualization aspect of it. And as we see more growth in that, I think you'll see a lot of feature functionality that is going to be centered around that containerized virtualization aspect of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are y'all going to be at KubeCon?
Yes.
Yeah.
We will have a presence.
That makes sense, right? Yeah, duh. I don't know why. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we're looking to be at more of these regional Red Hat Connect shows as well. So if anybody that's viewing is going to be joining, we're working on planning those out as well. So we'll be at these regional events and be looking forward to have conversations.
Okay,
there.
awesome. Where are you guys out of? It's California.
We're based out. Well, I'm based out of New Jersey. Our headquarters is here in New Jersey. Martin is in Texas, but we have presence in Europe, Asia Pac, and the Middle East as well. So we have local teams. Like I said, we'll be joining those regional Connect events and trying to be more. Really, just trying to get our name out there.
Absolutely.
Like you said, we're not one of these multi-billion-dollar companies. We are just trying to provide a more simple, cost-effective solution for those customers that need it.
Yeah, no, I think you're on the right track. I mean, this seems pretty awesome, and like we do a lot of the streams are on, storage, backup recovery, disaster recovery, that type of thing, OpenShift virtualization, and I think that question comes up quite a bit. Is like how do you manage costs, especially like if you have something like, okay, I'm fully funded into OpenShift, I'm fully funded into, say, something like an ODF or some big storage provider. It starts chipping away at your IT budget, right? And then like the things that you need, you can't necessarily afford. So you're like really extending yourself to try and get yourself in a lot of these with a lot of these products and these services. So it's cool to see you guys coming up and trying to do something to fit the bill.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Let me see if we have any more questions really quick. Yep. So nothing but positive feedback. Everybody's saying thank you for coming on, and I'll extend that. Like, thank you very much, Brian, for sticking with me and coordinating all this stuff with me and getting on. We'd love to have you guys come back. Especially once you start getting like the file restore stuff done. NFS, if you want to show it, like you're a glutton for punishment for doing that, but if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to come back on. Just hit me up or hit me or Sully up and let us know when you when you want to come show something new, or if there's something we want to talk about.
For sure.
Thanks for having us.
Will do.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Appreciate
everybody.
it. Yep. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining again. We're out next week, but we'll be back on the 9th. If you have any questions or anything like that, make sure you email Sully or myself. I'm Jonny at Red Hat, JONNY at redhat.com, and Sully is SULLY at redhat.com, and we will do our best to get out of email jail and answer you. One last thing before we go: the Red Hat user group is in San Antonio tonight at Maggiano's. If you don't have it, or if you want an invite, let me know, and I'll send it to you. I'll be there. All right. Other than that, catch you guys later. Martin, Brian, thank you very much for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.